Hi, my name is Aisha. Welcome to One Elder Speaks. Normally you'd see me when I'm talking, but I had a little procedure done on my head, and so I'm not going to have the visuals today. You're going to get a montage of some photos that I've taken over the years, and I hope you enjoy that. And I'm here to talk about my ayahuasca experience, just like I said I would. Um, for people who haven't done the research into psychedelic experiences, this is something that every indigenous culture has had access to some sort of plant or animal extract which provided psychedelic experiences. And these indigenous cultures did not use this haphazardly. They did not use this to party. They used this as a way to break through the program of the 3D reality and get down to the spiritual. And they used it in a very sacred way and in a to do some healing, to do some journeying, to mark a passage in time. It was all done ceremoniously and with intent. Um, it what it does is it breaks through the 3D reality and gets you in touch with your spirit. And we can get caught up with the day to day very quickly. Um, and it just is a really excellent tool to remind us about what's important. Psychedelics are not physically addictive, and the active ingredient in ayahuasca is DMT. DMT is something that is already present in the human brain. So this is not like a foreign substance made out of kerosene and and crazy drain cleaners and weird stuff like that. This is actually something that already resides within the brain, and people have already started experimenting and accessing this heightened DMT in through breathing exercises and like through meditation and yogic practices. If I read some of that information correctly. Uh, and so I wanted to also share with you that a lot of research facilities are starting to get into how psychedelics are helping people who have addiction issues, who have PTSD, who have all kinds of mental issues. Um, let's see, depression is another one, and they're using these substances to make breakthroughs that would otherwise take years and years and years of psychology, and these things like crack the surface immediately. So there was a reason these indigenous people were using it. It's because it worked. If you look into the MAPS, that's a project of trying to get the research done so they can bring the findings to the government to have changes made to the scheduling of the drugs so that basically people can use these um, psychedelics to help them heal. There's there's I did some acid back in the 80s, and I did it to party. I didn't do it with any kind of sacred ceremony, and I didn't get any of the benefits that I really could have gotten out of it had I used it in a sacred way, in a sacred way of healing. But this time when I got to the ayahuasca, you know, I had thought about ayahuasca for quite a few years before I had the opportunity to partake of it, and so I was extremely happy about the opportunity, and uh, and just really excited about what all that meant for me. So I wanted to give you kind of a rundown of what happened. They administered the ayahuasca in a drink, and I drank mine. And after about 40 minutes or so, I got sick. I threw up. They gave us this little bucket, so we had that, so you could keep it contained and it could be cleaned up. And then I made my way to my little pallet, my bed, which was outside. It was a beautiful night, so it was outside, and I laid down. And there were some really talented musicians there, and they were playing music, and that was lovely as well. And I knew what to expect as far as the ayahuasca taking me through all these experiences and visions and images. And I knew that that was going to be part of it. And so I had already set up in my mind that I was going to offer zero resistance to whatever was brought to me. And I was just going to dive in and just lean in to whatever it was that we were experiencing at the time. And so I offered no resistance. And it is like a lot of different visions, and it would shift. So it was almost like a dreamlike state in that respect. Because you would, it wasn't like I was seeing these things as for real. It was more like I was closing my eyes and I was seeing, it was more like a dream thing, you know? It's in your head. And so they showed me this image and I leaned in and rode that. And then they'd show me this image and then I'd lean in and rode that. And when I say they, I mean Mother Ayahuasca. Let's see, Mother Aya? Yeah, Mother Aya. And just kind of rolled with it. There was a point where they got into a horrorscape, you know, kind of like a scary stuff, and I leaned into that because, you know, I just had already made that decision. It didn't matter where it was going to take me. I was going to lean in and offer zero resistance and just explore. And didn't stay there either. Just didn't stay in any place really for very long. There was a Okay, so I was looking at the stars at one point and I was seeing all the lines between the stars and how they were connected. And in my mind, I'm like, oh man, this must have been how, you know, they came up with the first constellations with the ideas for that. Because, you know, I could see lines go, I mean, and it looked like physical lines going through the stars, you know, and connecting them. And it was like, yeah, this must have been how the early people came up with the constellations. They were looking up at the stars. Because I already said DMT is something that's available already in your mind. And it seems to make sense to me that the indigenous people who were hunter-gatherers, who were drinking clean water, breathing clean air, and eating clean foods, would have better access to the spirituality and better access to the DMT that's available within the brain without all of these, you know, toxic chemicals we have in our atmosphere at all times, every day, all day long. And so it made sense to me that this is where this came from. The mapping of the constellations, I can see it now. I get it. Oh, wow. And the lines weren't running from every star to every star. They would just go from this star to that star, and then they would branch off to these two stars and then come together. You know, it was just very interesting. And it also kind of reminded me that all things and all peoples are connected. All of us. There's nothing separating us whatsoever. That ant is a part of me. We are all a part of each other, and we're all a part of the universe, and we're all a part of the galaxy, and you know, we're all energy, and we all belong to one another. So that just kind of really shored up my feelings of connection to everything and everyone. Now, at a certain point, I was brought to this. I was like shown this wall, and it kind of wrapped around, so it was like everywhere, and there was all these pairs of eyes, all just tons and tons of eyes. And I was looking at the eyes, and there was absolutely no judgment in any one of these eyes, but they were all observing me. You could almost feel like the consciousness behind the eyes, but they were all just being observant. And I was like, I'm not sure what this is saying, but I'm going to shore this away in my brain, and maybe that will become apparent at some later time as to what that actually means. Let's see, what else? Oh, and ayahuasca did tell me at probably about the ending part of the experience, basically said you need to work on this part of your psyche. It was absolutely correct. That is a part of my psyche that I definitely have to do a lot of work on. And so that was also helpful. So it was a real positive experience for me. I was really glad to be a part of it. Let's see. You know, all of my thoughts, and this is to kind of go off on a little tangent here, all of my thoughts have been about intentional community. This is where I want to go in the future. This is how I want to. This is my retirement plan. Is intentional community. If you want to know the truth, and I've always thought, well, okay, so how is this going to work? Uh, is our communities, um, when you're bringing people together into communities, how will you weed out the toxic candidates and just keep the authentic people? And um, it has been okay, so like I've been thinking that the way that you would do this is by, and I think I came to a standstill at some point, and then I kept hearing from different places, from different groups, from, say, like Jessa Reed's Awakening OD, and Paul Selig, and Dolores Cannon, and different various other people, that our psychic awareness is becoming escalated at this time, and it's been ramping up since at least 2012 that I'm aware of, and I feel that too. um and maybe this has to do with, okay, so I think that we're able to tap into many versions of reality through the internet and other media, and we are being tasked with looking inside of ourselves in order to find the truth. And maybe because we're having to go within to find the truth, maybe that helps us to get in touch with our truth and helps us to see the truth in other people. And I really am feeling that now. The couple of times that I really felt like I was seeing into the real truth of a person, and their motivation, two things were occurring. Number one, I was observing the person and really absorbing their energy. And number two, I placed no judgment on that observation. And I think that's going to be really important going forward. I think that we are coming to a place where we are becoming more aware of our intuition, and becoming more aware of what our truth is, and determining that for ourselves. And I do believe that if we can manage to observe other people without placing a judgment beforehand, before we observe them, I think that we're really going to start getting that information back. Like our intuition is going to be telling us, this person's motivation is XYZ. This person's sense of responsibility for the community is at XYZ. Let's see. And I'm kind of a judgy kind of like person, and so I have really, and I've done a lot of work on this, guys. As far as like, I used to have a ton of walls, and I started tearing them all down and trying to be very authentic to myself. And now it's really become apparent that I have got to lose my judgments in regards to other people as well, because if I'm going to see the truth, if I'm going to observe the truth, I am going to have to get back to objectivity. I'm going to have to lose my judgments. Now, getting back to the wall of eyes that ayahuasca was showing me, none of those pairs of eyes were judging. They were all merely observing. So, I want you to know that in my experience, bringing down these walls between me and the world has been the absolute best thing I could possibly do. I don't have to worry so much about I don't worry about being seen. I assume that I will be seen, and they're going to see me sooner or later, so they might as well just see me sooner and be done with it. And if they have to judge on me, that's fine. That's well within their rights, and I'm not going to, disparage on that. And if they decide that I'm just too caustic, which I've been known to be, then, that's fine. That's absolutely their truth, and they have got to be authentic to their truth. They've got to live their truth if they're going to be real in this world. If we all practice truth and practice authenticity, then there's nothing uncomfortable in this transparency. And I only see that this will lead to compassion and correct action to the people all around us. So going back to intentional community. So somebody comes up and they say, well, I'm XYZ, and you observe them and you attach no judgment and you file away what your feelings are, and you confer with the other people that are in the community, and you base a decision on that, and then you stand and observe and without judgment, uh, and see how that pans out. I really think we are moving towards transparency, and I think that's where we're headed. And I think that this is going to be glorious, because this is going to open up avenues of us learning how to be compassionate to one another, learning how to be generous with one another, learning how to heal one another. Because honestly, the culture that we have collectively decided is the culture that we live in, is it has been so toxic for so long, and it's not working, and it's not sustainable. And we all of us want to live in a place where our families can thrive and grow and live and love. And toxic situations, broken, just basically make broken people, and broken people make broken decisions. And so what we want is something healthy for everybody. I'm going to be talking more about society and about the culture that we have now, and how I envision us moving in the future. I don't know. You take it for what it's worth to you. I may or may not even be alive when all these things actually start happening, or it could happen tomorrow. We decide. This is our pony show. We decide how this all comes out. Anyway, I think I'm going to leave it at that for now. I've got some more stuff coming up, and I hope you guys are willing to hang out with it. And hey, y'all have been awesome, and we'll talk to you later. All right, bye.